The moment my father's voice thundered through the crowded banquet hall, time itself seemed to freeze. The chatter of 150 elegantly dressed guests halted instantly. Wine glasses paused midair, forks stopped halfway to mouths, and every pair of eyes turned to stare directly at me. Before we begin, drop a comment and tell us what would you do in this situation? Be honest, tell me in the comments below. We read every comment. Let's begin. You're an embarrassment to us, Amelia, my father bellowed, his voice dripping with disdain and anger. He towered over me, his tuxedo immaculate, his eyes blazing with a cold fury I'd seen too many times. I told you explicitly, you were not welcome here. I stood rigid, my heart hammering painfully in my chest, humiliation coursing through my veins like poison. My eyes darted around the ornate ballroom, decorated in gold and white, shimmering chandeliers casting soft, elegant glows. The beauty of the setting was a cruel irony against my pain. Every face I saw wore an expression of shock or a thinly veiled disgust. Dad, please? I tried weakly, my voice cracking slightly. It's my brother's wedding. My plea only deepened the contempt in his glare. My mother stood silently beside him, her eyes filled with disappointment rather than sympathy. My brother, Jason, newly married, watched with an unreadable expression. He made no move to intervene. He was always the golden child, and I, the perpetual disgrace. Did you honestly believe you could show up here? My father continued relentlessly, his words slicing through my dignity like blades. This family won't tolerate your pathetic life choices.
Out. Now.
Every word cut deep, reopening old wounds that I'd struggled for years to heal. My family had always valued appearances, success measured only by public perception. I was their greatest shame, a struggling artist, barely scraping by, working in coffee shops and small galleries, chasing dreams they saw as futile. Silently, I turned to leave, each step toward the exit like walking on shattered glass. Whispers rose behind me, vicious murmurs disguised as concern. Tears blurred my vision as I crossed the lavishly carpeted floor. My face burned from the embarrassment of rejection, humiliation etched into my heart deeper than ever before. Outside, the evening air was crisp, a bitter contrast to the warmth inside. My breath came raggedly, and I stood trembling, the echo of laughter and clinking glasses haunting my mind. I clutched my phone, desperate to call the only person who had always believed in me. My trembling fingers dialed the familiar number. "Ethan," I whispered, my voice barely audible. "I need you now." "Stay right there." His calm, reassuring voice replied immediately, washing over me like balm on my battered soul. "I'm coming." Little did my family know, Ethan wasn't just my comforting boyfriend. He was Ethan Caldwell, CEO of one of the largest tech firms in the country, worth billions. We'd kept our relationship private to protect our peace from my family's toxic influence. But tonight, secrecy would finally end. Ethan arrived in less than 20 minutes, pulling up in a sleek black Rolls-Royce, its polished finish gleaming beneath the moonlight. When he stepped out, dressed in an impeccable designer tuxedo, his strong jaw clenched with protective anger, I felt my heart surge with strength. The sight of him, tall, confident, and utterly devoted, steadied my nerves. Without a word, he pulled me gently into his arms, brushing a tear from my cheek. "They hurt you again," he murmured softly, his voice thick with restrained fury. "It ends tonight, Amelia. Everyone will finally know." I nodded, drawing strength from his fierce resolve. Ethan grasped my hand firmly, entwining our fingers. I felt safe, powerful even, for the first time in my life. "Ready?" he asked softly, eyes blazing with determination. "Ready," I answered, my voice steady and clear. Together, we marched toward the ornate double doors that had once represented rejection, humiliation, and pain. It was time for my family to face their reality, and mine. The heavy doors swung open, and a stunned silence instantly gripped the hall. I felt Ethan's firm hand squeeze mine reassuringly as every face turned toward us, expressions morphing from casual curiosity to astonished disbelief. The whispers started slowly, almost unsure. My father, still standing near the grand stage, turned sharply at the commotion. His face paled instantly when his eyes met Ethan's. He recognized him immediately, who wouldn't? Ethan Caldwell was a household name, frequently featured on Forbes and Bloomberg. His reputation as a business magnate was only rivaled by his notorious privacy. Jason's jaw dropped, his new bride clinging to his arm with confusion etched across her face. My mother, always composed, visibly stumbled, clutching my father's sleeve in stunned disbelief. "What, Amelia?" "Ethan Caldwell," my father stammered, voice shaking, suddenly reduced to a shadow of the domineering presence he had wielded moments ago. "Yes, Mr. Hartwell." Ethan spoke firmly, his voice echoing with controlled authority. "Your daughter, whom you've labeled an embarrassment, happens to be my wife." The collective gasp rippled through the room like a physical wave. Ethan stepped forward slightly, keeping his hand firmly entwined with mine. "Your daughter," he continued, his voice calm yet seething with restrained power, "is the most extraordinary woman I've ever known. Brilliant, compassionate, resilient, qualities you've always ignored. Your loss is my gain." My father staggered back slightly, visibly shaken, his pride shattered publicly. My mother covered her mouth with a trembling hand, eyes filling with tears, not tears of remorse, I realized, but of shame at their exposed superficiality. Jason finally found his voice, feebly stepping forward. "Amelia, we had no idea." "No, Jason, you never did," I replied firmly, my voice steady and composed despite the storm raging inside me. "Because you never bothered to see me beyond your expectations. I've spent years trying to earn your approval, but now I realize your approval was never worth chasing." I turned to face the sea of astonished faces, speaking with clarity that carried throughout the hall. "All my life, you've judged my worth by success defined on your terms, money, status, and conformity. But Ethan saw me for who I truly am, and he chose me because of it, not despite it." Ethan squeezed my hand, pride radiating from him. His strength gave me courage. "You thought your rejection would break me. Instead, it freed me," I continued, my voice resolute. "Today marks a new chapter, one where my happiness no longer depends on your acceptance." With that, Ethan raised my hand gently, pressing a soft kiss to my knuckles, his eyes filled with unmistakable devotion. "And Amelia will never again face disrespect, not from family, not from anyone." The weight of his words hung heavily in the stunned silence that followed. My family had been stripped bare, their hypocrisy exposed to their closest friends and allies. The humiliation they sought to impose upon me had rebounded spectacularly. Quietly, Ethan guided me out, leaving my former family standing paralyzed in shock. The doors swung shut behind us, the echo resonating in my soul. In that moment, as we stepped into the crisp night air, a newfound peace settled over me. My past, though painful, no longer had power over my future. The sound of those ornate doors closing behind us was heavy, echoing in my ears with finality. Ethan guided me toward his waiting Rolls-Royce, the sleek black car gleaming beneath the soft glow of streetlights. I slid onto the plush leather seat, sinking deeply into its comforting embrace. As Ethan started the engine, the silence filled with all the unspoken words between us. I stared out the window, watching familiar streets blur past. My heart was still pounding, caught somewhere between relief and unresolved pain. "Are you all right, Amelia?" Ethan finally asked, breaking the silence. His voice was gentle, but laced with worry. He reached out, touching my hand softly, anchoring me in the present. I took a deep breath, turning to meet his steady gaze. "I don't know. I thought confronting them would make me feel stronger, but instead, I just feel empty." Ethan nodded understandingly. "They've controlled your emotions for so long. You stood up to them tonight, and that's something they'll never forget. But healing takes time, Amelia." I squeezed his hand gently. "I know. It's just that their words, their judgment. It's embedded deep in me. I spent years trying to prove myself, hoping they'd see my worth. Now, I realize maybe I wasted all that time. You never wasted your time, Ethan reassured firmly, eyes burning with conviction. Every step you took, even the painful ones, shaped the incredible woman you've become. And no matter what anyone says, your value was never theirs to decide. We arrived home shortly after, pulling into our secluded estate nestled comfortably outside the city's bustle. The familiar elegance of our home was comforting, a haven away from judgment. Yet tonight, peace seemed elusive. My mind was still tangled in memories, each one echoing the cruelty I'd endured for years. I wandered into my art studio, a room filled with canvases that bore witness to my inner struggles. It had always been my sanctuary, a place where emotions flowed freely onto canvas. Ethan followed quietly, watching as I touched the paintings gently, tracing brushstrokes that told stories I hadn't yet fully spoken. You know, Ethan began carefully, stepping closer. Maybe it's finally time you share your art with the world. You've hidden your true self long enough. The idea filled me with apprehension. My art was personal, raw, and vulnerable. Sharing it felt like exposing the deepest parts of myself, opening wounds for others to see. Yet Ethan's belief in me was undeniable, his encouragement unwavering. Do you really think people would understand? I asked, uncertainty evident in my voice. He stepped closer, taking my hands gently in his. I think they'd see themselves reflected in your pain and strength. Your work speaks to something universal. Trust yourself, Amelia. His words lingered in my mind, planting seeds of courage. In the days that followed, I poured myself into creating pieces more honest and authentic than ever before. Ethan quietly organized a private gallery show, carefully selecting a small but influential audience. The idea both terrified and excited me. The evening of the gallery opening arrived quickly. My heart raced as guests slowly entered, quietly discussing my paintings with awe. Ethan stayed beside me, supportive yet allowing me space to absorb the reactions. Gradually, the fear began to fade, replaced by quiet pride and a sense of purpose. But then, an unexpected face appeared in the crowd, Jason, my brother. He looked uncomfortable, uncertain, but approached carefully, studying my paintings with a new appreciation. "This is incredible, Amelia," he finally said, genuine astonishment coloring his voice. "You sound surprised," I replied calmly, facing him without anger, though past hurt lingered beneath my composure. "I never really saw you, not clearly," he admitted quietly, regret obvious in his eyes. I didn't try hard enough. His honesty caught me off guard. I felt a flicker of hope mixed with cautious relief. "Thank you, Jason. That means something." He nodded, looking humbled as he stepped away to let me continue greeting other guests. Later that evening, as Ethan and I returned home, my heart felt lighter. The pain of rejection hadn't disappeared, but now I realized I had power over it. Ethan pulled me gently into his embrace, holding me close, his warmth comforting. "You've come so far," he whispered softly, pride evident in his voice. "Yes," I agreed quietly, leaning into his strength. "And tonight, for the first time, I feel truly free." After the gallery opening, a shift began within me. Each brushstroke carried renewed energy, each color chosen with deliberate confidence. For the first time, I felt genuinely empowered, finally allowing myself to embrace a life free from the shadow of my family's criticism. Ethan remained steadfast by my side, supporting me gently but never overshadowing my own voice. His subtle strength helped me navigate my newfound independence. Our marriage flourished, becoming an unbreakable foundation built on mutual trust, respect, and love. One morning, nearly a month later, I received an unexpected phone call. My mother's voice trembled through the receiver, vulnerable and hesitant, a tone I had never heard before. "Amelia, I was hoping we could talk," she said softly, her words halting and uncertain. I hesitated, surprised at the emotional ache her voice sparked inside me. "What is there left to say, Mom?" Her breath hitched slightly. I know we made mistakes. Your father and we misunderstood you. We judged too harshly, and we regret it. Can we please talk? Face to face. I felt a knot form in my stomach, anxiety mixing with cautious hope. Ethan, overhearing, stepped quietly beside me, a gentle hand resting reassuringly on my shoulder. Okay, I finally said, my voice softening despite myself. But this isn't about forgiveness, Mom. It's about understanding. If we meet, it's to move forward, not to return to the past. I understand, she agreed quickly, relief evident. Let's meet at your gallery tomorrow. The next day, anxiety simmered beneath my composure as Ethan and I arrived at my gallery. My mother waited quietly inside, appearing smaller somehow, less intimidating, more human. Thank you for agreeing to meet, she began softly. After what happened at Jason's wedding, your father and I had a long talk. It forced us to confront our failures as parents. I listened silently, absorbing her sincerity. You hurt me deeply. For years, I believed I was unworthy. Ethan helped me see differently, but I had to find that strength myself. Her eyes filled with genuine regret. We see that now. We pushed our expectations onto you unfairly. Success isn't always measured by wealth or reputation. You're living proof of that. Ethan stepped closer, quietly supportive. Amelia's always been worthy. Her strength lies in her authenticity, something you overlooked. My mother nodded humbly. We want to start over, Amelia. We understand forgiveness will take time, but we want to try. Tears welled unexpectedly, but I blinked them away, determined to remain steady. I appreciate that, but it will take more than words. I understand, she repeated softly, stepping forward hesitantly. But seeing who you've become, strong, confident, happy, it makes us proud. Truly. Her sincerity was undeniable. It felt strange, comforting, yet bittersweet. A small bridge had formed, fragile but real. Afterward, Ethan and I walked hand in hand through the quiet gallery, absorbing the silence left by my mother's departure. How do you feel? Ethan asked gently. Lighter, I admitted quietly, but cautious. Healing won't happen overnight. He squeezed my hand gently. And I'll be right here, every step. In that quiet moment, surrounded by my artwork, expressions of pain transformed into beauty, I realized the past no longer defined me. I was finally rising from the ashes, not because of anyone's approval, but because I had found strength within myself. Months passed since the gallery reunion with my mother, and each day brought me closer to the woman I'd always hoped to become, confident, respected, and genuinely happy. My art career blossomed beyond my dreams, with new exhibitions, glowing reviews, and heartfelt messages from those touched by my paintings. I found a voice that resonated deeply with others, affirming that authenticity was truly powerful. Through it all, Ethan was my rock. Our bond strengthened every day, built not only on mutual admiration and respect but also on shared experiences of overcoming personal battles. With him, love was never conditional. It was the safe harbor I'd always craved. Then, nearly a year after Jason's wedding, another invitation arrived, a celebration honoring my father's retirement. Initially, I felt hesitant. Old wounds still lingered, scars of rejection, reminding me of past pain. Yet, Ethan gently encouraged me. Amelia, this might be your chance to finally close that chapter on your terms, he said calmly. You've grown stronger. You're not the same woman they remember. Show them who you've become. Trusting his insight, I decided to attend. This time, I walked confidently into the familiar ballroom, Ethan at my side. My heart was steady, nerves replaced by quiet determination. Heads turned, whispers followed, but now I carried myself differently, not as a rejected daughter, but as a woman sure of herself, comfortable in her own worth. My father approached, his expression cautious but hopeful. Amelia, he began gently, voice soft with genuine emotion. I'm glad you came. I'm here because I chose to be Dad. I responded calmly, holding his gaze. Not because I seek your approval. He nodded slowly, accepting the weight of my words. Your mother and I have done a lot of reflecting. Losing you taught us lessons we were stubborn to learn. I'm sorry for every word, every judgment. Hearing those words from him stirred deep emotions inside me. The apology felt genuine, but wounds healed slowly. I breathed deeply, finding strength in Ethan's silent support. Thank you, I replied softly. But forgiveness doesn't erase memories. It creates new space for growth. He offered a small, understanding smile. That's all I could hope for. As the evening progressed, a sense of closure settled warmly within me. Conversations flowed naturally, barriers gradually dissolving. My family saw me clearly, perhaps for the first time, not as a failure, but as a woman defined by resilience and authenticity. Later, beneath the soft glow of chandeliers, Ethan held me close on the dance floor. His eyes glistened with quiet pride. You faced them with courage and grace tonight, he whispered gently. I admire you deeply, Amelia. Warmth filled my chest, gratitude overwhelming. You helped me find that courage, Ethan. No, he replied firmly, eyes intense with sincerity. It was always within you. I merely stood by your side until you recognized it yourself. His words resonated deeply. The journey had been painful, but it led me here, to true acceptance, genuine love, and meaningful forgiveness. That night, as we drove home beneath the soft moonlight, I felt profoundly free. My family's rejection had once nearly broken me, but instead, it had shaped me into someone stronger, kinder, and fiercely authentic. I learned forgiveness wasn't weakness. It was strength, the ultimate power to reclaim my narrative, to transform pain into purpose. And as I looked at Ethan, the man who had always believed in me, I knew my story was finally mine, fully, beautifully, unapologetically mine.